quite intimidated, although I invited you all, so I know you. So I was gonna say it's like class, nobody wants to sit at the front, but we have some brave people. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, I invited you all personally, so you must be important in tourism. So hats off to you. You're all vested, whether it's directly or indirectly, with this tourism family that we have. Today, along with the Institute for Tourism, Travel, and Culture at the University of Malta, we have 5 students and graduates, plus faculty, to talk about the university and the wonderful work that exists there. The purpose of these events is to ensure these projects and dissertations reach all of us in the travel industry. There's no point in having their hard work sit on the shelves. There's so much for us to all learn and for the university to learn from us. So it's not a one-way street. I'm especially delighted to have graduates from last year's event in attendance. One couldn't get out of work. Could you believe it? She works for the Ministry of Tourism, and she couldn't get it out on time. But thank you very much for being here. You being here is a wealth of support for the students and for the Institute in itself. You're all working in tourism, so that's lovely. I think 3 of you at least are working at one hotel, so you couldn't get away from each other. Well, it's great news, and it shows that our industry is resilient. Some people say that working in tourism is not as sexy as it used to be. I disagree. It's really what you make of it. And I think that those that are in it now, directly or indirectly, it's really a personal thing. It's truly what you make of it. Well, I'm wearing 2 hats. Most of you know me from my work with a luxury DMC called Exclusively Malta. My other company, Touchpoint Precision, is more of a niche, has more of a niche focus within the industry that specializes in hotel guest engagement. It's a different type of guest engagement that we would normally consider. It's a type that focuses on assessing the strength of a hotel's brand narrative across all relevant touch points along the guest journey, from pre to post-stay. It's all about ensuring the hotel is successful in connecting with guests on an emotional level. It's all about the finer details. Our results equate to heightened guest satisfaction, increased loyalty, and profits for the hotel. My involvement with the university came about after asking Dr. Monroe about the research projects that exist at the university. The dissertation, and he provided me with a glimpse, and I thought, wow, how is this information getting out? And this is an idea, a concept that Dr. Monroe had for some time of all this great work that's being done at the university. How do we get it out? So this is, my question was really timely. And now here we are today, after much consultation with Dr. Dane Monroe and Professor Maria Avellino. And this is the second time we've done this, and we definitely want to build on it. We have a lot of new faces. This event is being filmed. So smile. The cameras are back there, though. And it'll be on my YouTube channel, and of course be disseminated to all of you to share. There will also be a summary industry paper that will be presented by Dr. Monroe in the forthcoming weeks. We are ultimately open to your suggestions on the ways that we can make these events better, but also to see how we can take the mission beyond the classroom, so to speak, the presentation format. Hopefully, we can all walk away from this event with something new to appreciate that lends to bettering our industry. I'd like to take a couple of moments to thank our sponsors. Obviously, the Hyatt Regency. Mark Vella, who's not here, is on vacation, is rubbing it in. Actually, the fact that you're all here after him, Naria, is pretty good too, right? They're invaluable and working very closely. I actually spoke to Mark last year when we were looking at a hotel space, and he said he was in, so that was like a year ago that he had buy-in. And he very much supports this initiative. And he was a part of a little discussion that we had last month with some of the students from the program. We have the University Student Council. They've been a great supporter. I never would have thought of reaching out to them, but thank you to my colleague, Denise Cassara, and they were very enthusiastic in supporting this event. So thanks to them. We have Malta Rural Tours, which highlights Malta and Gozo's rural communities through authentic cultural experiences. We have Christian from Malta Rural Tours, so thank you very much for being here. This is the second year of your support. Thank you. And what does it say when the Malta Tourism thinks this is a great event? It's back online. What does it say when Malta Tourism is supporting this event? Must be a great idea. So thank you very much, Arthur, for being. Oh, we're gonna have to do that again. Another cut. That's what there's. There we go. That's what there's two. There we go. Good. Thank you. So this will be on the edited version, right? Thank you so much for the Malta Tourism Authority, and it says a lot for them to support this event. It speaks volumes, so I really, really appreciate you being supportive. Obviously, in particular, Arthur from MTA. If you don't know Arthur, he's very chatty, so please talk with him afterwards. Keep him here, but he's a low-key time here, so thanks so much for that. Dr. Monroe, I invite you up, or I'm sorry, Professor Avellino. I'm going to invite you up to speak and say a few words.
First of all, I'd like to welcome you all here and also thank all our sponsors, which have been mentioned already by Damon here. And obviously, as he already mentioned, this is our second showcase event. And the idea behind this, we had, as we were mentioning, we had been discussing for a number of years that a lot of the work which our students carry out at the Institute is rarely, let's say, showcased or shown to the industry. Of course, the dissertations are placed in the library, but unless you are really motivated and want to see what they have done, you will rarely go there. Not unless then maybe you're doing your master's and then you would start to look at, the older dissertations to look for material. So we wanted to find a way of showcasing, as I said, and our research as well. And Dane met Damon, and here we are today for this event. Just a bit of background about ITTC, the Institute for Tourism, Travel and Culture. For those of you that maybe are not so familiar with us, we offer various programs which range from diploma to PhD level. And each of these programs is designed especially to challenge our students intellectually and also to expose them to a broad range of industry practices. And we do this mainly because our lecturers are, most of them are PhDs, lecturers, but then we also have lecturers who are not academically at PhD level, but they are working in the industry. So in this way, we are able to amalgamate both industry and also academia together in the product, let's say, that we offer to our students. And the idea is that, obviously, we are going to be producing or providing top quality graduates that give meaningful contribution to society. And I'm pleased to say that I've seen a number of our ex-students here who have reached, quite high levels in the tourism industry. As such, at ITTC, we are quite active in research and we take part in a number of EU-funded programs. And we also collaborate not just with local industry, but also at international level. At the moment, we are hosting our 4th year of international students, scholarship students who come from all over the world, and their master's is funded through the Erasmus Mundus program. So, they come here for a whole semester, then they go to other universities in other parts of Europe. And in some cases, not in all cases, they choose to carry out their research, their dissertation, a master's level about Malta. And we have had very interesting research evolving from that. In the past, tourism management, especially at higher levels, because this is what we prepare our students for, was carried out mainly by non-local persons. They would have been expats, usually British expats. They would have been sent here by, let's say, the mother companies, brands like Hilton and so on, and they would manage the hotel or other industry. And let's say at the lower end, at the front end, you would have had the Maltese people. With time, this changed, especially when we saw a shift to state-owned industries, and then management became, I don't say predominantly Maltese, there was a mix. We also found that even, let's say, the children of owners sent abroad to study, to get qualifications, and then they started to manage these tourism industry. Today, what are we finding? We're finding that we don't have local Maltese as frontliners. We have third country nationals, we also have Europeans, but this is not something that is just affecting Malta. It's affecting, I would say, even nearly all over the world. There is a problem with having, let's say, the human resource for the tourism industry and the other ancillaries. And it is of utmost importance from our end as academics to prepare students, to give them, the necessary career skills to move forward, to help the national economy, to help them in their career, etc. But obviously, what we are finding is that once they graduate, they leave. They leave and go somewhere else, which is maybe more attractive, lucratively, most of the time, it's for financial reasons. The skills that they learn from tourism, they take with them and they use them in these new places. But what is important for tourism, what is important for a tourism destination strategy, especially in places like Malta, islands and small states, should be built on its being competitive and also sustainable. And therefore, we have to look at areas that can give us this. And culture, for example, and the creative sectors are one of these resources which could be tapped into to achieve this. It is a core product and it's not easily depleted, obviously, if we look after it. And culture is also one of the main reasons why people may decide to travel. But on the other hand, we know that it has become highly commoditized, which then it means it loses its, well, we don't really want to use this word, but we tend to use it, authenticity. What is authentic? But I mean, this is it, losing the real thing. And today, most of the presentations that are going to be given are linked to this touristic product. And I'm sure that in the presentations you're going to be listening to, they are going to highlight and recommend, give us ideas how we can preserve, look after, and so on, this very important resource. For sure, we can say that there is a distinct drive to mobilize the use of heritage and the lived culture in such a way that we can preserve it and conserve it. But we also know that there are issues around us, which sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time leads us to concerns if will the tourists still want to come to Malta? So we are investing a lot. And therefore, we have to find a way together, to keep something from being lost forever. And I hope with these presentations, we'll be able to address that. So I would now like to give the floor to my colleague, Dane Monroe, Dr. Dane Monroe. I want to thank him profusely and to Dame and Ellen as well, because they've done a marvelous job in the first, showcase and now in the second. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy to see your happy faces. Most of you I know. I've been around in tourism here for about 30 years. So I've seen a huge change from apple carts to trucks, and over-tourism is back, as you noticed after COVID. Mass tourism is a revenge, so revenge tourism is there. People want to have a holiday no matter what it costs and no matter the consequences for others. So there is that thing going on. So a bit selfish, but it's what we have to deal with. Today we have selected 5 students And we go from, with all due respect, from the very young to the more mature, because they have a different voice. So the young ones have great ideas and a different energy than the more mature ones. They take a step back and think about things differently. It's also a bit eclectic. We don't have the same things. We are going to touch upon topics which are hopefully relevant for you. So there will be a takeaway for you in this sense. Now we're going to prepare very slowly the first two. And that is Alessia, Bezzina, and Kayden, Chetcuti. Please come forward and put your shyness away, because they're not going to eat you up. They're going to listen and hang on your lips, for sure. So you have your own mics, and who's going to speak? Okay, there you go.
Hi, I'm Kayden.
And I'm Alessia, and we're going to present a short presentation that we did in our first year. It's about the Marsa and Menqa power station as a tourist case and how we can improve the area. So, as you can clearly see in the photos, the Marsa Menqa, and even those who know the area around it, it is currently in the decline stage, and it is left abandoned and in a deteriorating stage. The buildings are being used by different people, and these are in itself sometimes even used for malicious intent. And therefore, the high crime rates in the area are increasing significantly through the years. Some of the garages and stores are used by businesses. However, there are still some left and are used solely for crime purposes. On the other hand, the power station, which was built in 1953 and was demolished in 2018, is also not being used currently, and therefore it's currently being a waste of space, which could potentially be used for a tourist idea. Although there are already existing plans for the area, like the Marsa Power Station land use strategy, however, there hasn't been any plans to create these ideas, and therefore there have just been plans being proposed and nothing has been done yet. As for the Menqa in itself, there has been only plans for it to be turned into a yacht marina and nothing else. Therefore, turning it into a yacht marina and doing nothing else will not help the area, but simply just putting a stop for now about the issue. The power station itself falls also under the regeneration of the Grand Harbour strategy, but as I already have said, there hasn't been any plans proposed on how actually they're going to turn the power station for a good purpose. As for our plans, today we're going to be focusing on specifically the Menqa, and our main mission for this plan is to stay authentic as possible and leave the area as it is. Not over developing the area, but using what we already have. The venues that we are talking about are quite large. In fact, there is one tent which is near the Marsa Rowing Club, which is 330 meters squared, and the large tent, which is seen in red, it is 1,180 meters squared. Also, accessibility options to the area is really easy. You can go by car, you can even walk there, and parking is not a problem as there is plenty of space in the area. However, in order to be able to attract more tourists, we are proposing that the Valletta sightseeing train extends their route and starts taking tourists directly to this area, the tourists will enjoy the view of the Grand Harbour going there and also get a faster way to go there. Also, the hop-on, hop-off bus could also create another stop and maybe take tourists there, which would help in getting more tourists to the area. What we are proposing is that the largest part of the tent can host several activities. Some of them are creating a virtual projection with realistic sound effects of, since it faces the Grand Harbour, projections of the Great Siege, World War, and anything related to what was experienced near the Grand Harbour from our history could be implemented and the projections could be shown. Also, for a more personal experience, virtual reality experience is a more modern way to implement a modern touch to our history and therefore get more people interested in the idea. Filmmaking opportunities may also be provided, and in the area, some films have also been produced, short clips, and recently there was a production of a film called Prize Fighter, which they used an area which is from walking distance from the tent. In the tent, there will also be the opportunity for a short film showcase. It will be done to promote more the film industry in Malta and encourage more people to start working in the film industry, and encourage more people to start creating more short film productions, because by this we will be giving an opportunity to more people showcasing their talent. Events like the current Mediterranean Film Festival can also be held in such a venue, which will be helpful to the venue to create and more awareness of what it is and bring more interest to the area.
So now I will be focusing on the unique and attractive features of our plan proposal. And the reason why our proposal is unique is because there are no other plans being proposed which is similar to ours. And why it is attractive is, so there's the one of the main tourist attractions in Malta, which is our capital city, Valletta, which tourists can visit our area because it's very close. And as you may know, a big number of tourists comes to Malta with the cruise liners, and close to our area there's the Grand Harbour as well, so maybe in the future we can work with the cruises organizations to plan tours and excursions to our area. So the role of tourism in the preservation of landscape and heritage, our main role of this plan is to educate people about the Maltese heritage. We want to stay, as Alessia mentioned, as authentic as possible. So we want to educate people about the Maltese history and to educate them as well where the Maltese people come from. And we also want to show the importance of Marsa, the significant importance of how Marsa helped other towns and villages around Malta during crucial times, such as the World War II, the Great Siege, and other events. So now I'm going to focus on sustainability. Sustainability is a very important topic. As everyone may know here, sustainability is all about preserving and conserving the resources and materials for future generations, and we want to make sure to stay as sustainable as possible. Nowadays, everyone is aware of climate change and sustainability, and personally, I believe that nowadays our generation seeks sustainability in products, services, activities, and others. And also we are noticing an increase in sustainable tourism. So creating an area, a sustainable area, will obviously increase more tourists, sustainable tourists to visit our area. We want to make sure to have a good waste management, so even working with local organizations, environmental organizations, to make sure the waste is being disposed correctly. We want to also improve the lighting quality, specifically solar lighting, because right now the area lacks lighting, and when we visited the area physically, many locals were concerned and they were giving us advice to leave because it was getting dark, because it can get really unsafe, especially at night. We want to add greenery, obviously, and benches, to be environmental friendly as well. And the tents that Alessia showed you, we're going to keep the tents, we're just going to restore them and reuse them and run maintenance there so it can be safe for people to use. So, apart from being sustainable, we also want to support local organizations, and we want to work with environment authorities to make sure that we clean the area properly. And we also want to tackle the sea there because our area is very close to the sea, and unfortunately right now it is in a very bad state. There are a lot of abandoned boats and plastics in the ocean, so we want to make sure we restore everything and we remove the waste, and hopefully we could revive the ecosystem there as well. So now looking at an economic point of view, since the exhibitions in the smaller tents will be changing constantly over some time, it will be more likely for people to revisit the area, and we can potentially retain loyal customers. We will also give the opportunity to event organizers so they can host their events there, and also collaborations. And in the future, in the long run, we want to work with one of the strongest organizations regarding preservation and conservation of sites, museums, and artifacts, which is Heritage Malta. So we want to work with them so they can promote our site, and obviously more tourists could potentially visit our area. That's it. Thank you.
Young and good ideas, right? You just have to get the money together and do it. Money is not a problem most of the time. Once the money comes in, when there is an idea of a return, you're done. So that's all a good thing. But I would think that a big tent where you can have enormous projections, like the we had in Paris with Van Gogh, if you have local people making those films, it will be a moneymaker. It's a clear thing. Well, the next person, Nakita Agius, is going to tell us about her idea about new alternative events, novel ideas where to hold your events, because we have plenty of events in Valletta, but they're always in the same kind of places. So she invented an idea for a new location. So, Nakita, all yours. So, cultural festivals in a novel location in Malta, right? Okay, here you go.
So, I'm Nakita, and I just finished my third year at the university. And the title of my dissertation is Cultural Events and Their Contributions Towards the Maltese Tourism Industry. And this presentation is about cultural festivals in Malta and their locations. So I will be focusing on two events which I did in my study, which are the Dance Festival and the Malta Dance Festival and the Malta Jazz Festival. So the Dance Festival is held in summer as well as the Jazz Festival, and it is held at the Valletta University of Malta campus. Basically, this event has different workshops and helps dancers to enhance their experiences. In my opinion, I think that the location can be held elsewhere rather than at the Valletta campus. The Malta Jazz Festival is another event which attracts various tourists, and it is held in the summer period as well. However, it has been held in different locations, such as in the Valletta Ditch, which is surrounded with very impressive walls, and at the Quarry Wharf at Valletta. However, I think it has the potential to be held somewhere else. From my dissertation, I have found different findings. However, these are the most important ones. Basically, cultural events contribute positively towards the Maltese tourism industry, as they increase the number of tourists visiting Malta. And a very important thing to notice is the management of seasonality. Another event which I studied is the Valletta Baroque Festival, and it is specifically created to to face this problem. It is created in February and at the end of January, and it brings a lot of tourists. Events also influence the decision-making process of holiday buying by tourists. In fact, it was found that 40.6% visited Malta specifically for the event, and they visited for the purpose of entertainment, leisure, or education. Various positive impacts that was found in my dissertation are accommodation, because the majority of people coming for an event book accommodation, and food and beverage industries such as restaurants. Tourist guides can also benefit. Transport, as everyone needs transport to go to a place to another. Event management companies, as well as repeat visitors. It was found that the majority of the people who came for these events would revisit Malta. Some would come for the same event. However, some would like to revisit Malta for the purpose of seeing it in a different way, such as its cultural sides, as well as in an archaeological way. So, suggesting alternative locations. In my opinion, Herbert Ganada Gardens has the potential to create different events, such as the Malta Jazz Festival and the Malta Dance Festival. It has very great views over the Grand Harbour, and it also has the easy access for public and suppliers from the bus station. So, development impulse. There can be extra access in the form of a wooden stairways at regular Mokassar. It is important to refurbish the Herbert Ganada Gardens as it is in a deplorable state, and it has to be known by people, and for that to be known, it has to be regenerated. And apart from benefiting the tourists and for these events to take place there, it will also provide citizens and local people with a quality green environment. So I think the Herbert Ganada Gardens is a suitable location for an event. It can have marketing opportunities. For example, MTA can put it in their marketing strategies and their planning for tourists to visit. For example, tourists coming from cruise liners can go visit that garden and they'll spread instead of all of them going to Valletta. It is a great potential for stakeholders as well. There can be cafeterias in the garden or different food stalls when there are no events being held. So Herbert Ganada Gardens regeneration. Regenerating this rather neglected garden to create extra creative spaces and event locations. The planning policies should include infrastructure, accessibility, because it is not accessible for everyone, and it is important that everyone can access such garden. Safety, which is a very important feature, especially if kids are in the area. Attractability, and to focus on locals and tourism and events. So it can also be used for wedding venues, school activities. They can organize outings and do such treasure hunts since the area is closed and quite safe for that. Food festivals can be held and MICE activities. The reason for doing this is that we will have different venues to offer in Malta and new event spaces. That's it.
Okay, so that was short but sweet. I think it's better than never random, right? But new venues are important because sometimes you run out of venues. You try to book something and you have to wait a year or so or something like that. We need more venues. So we have plenty of gardens. Unfortunately, they are often dilapidated. We can't do much with it. It would be an excellent falconry, right? Herbert Ganada Gardens. You have your falcons with a camera, and they fly over the harbor, and they buy the video from you. Right? Oh, yes, a new product. I'm just making it up. Now we see you, right? I have a over vivid imagination, people say. Okay, now something more serious. We have a international comparison between Malta and Sardinia. And there are many aspects of Sardinia which will compare good to Malta. And we just need to see them. So we have the same sentiments. The people in Sardinia feel the same way as the Maltese when they see a high-riser, when they see their childhood environment being broken down by bulldozers and something ugly comes up. So I would like to invite Ellie. And Ellie is not Maltese, she is from international stock, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so all yours.
Thanks a lot. First of all, I wanted to say to Damon that I think tourism is very sexy indeed. Now, the presentation will be about a project that I have very much at heart, besides the dissertation, which is the beating heart of cultural identities. One of the reasons why we decided to do this project is because we founded recently a non-for-profit association operating in the field of cultural tourism that wants to bring back to people, visitors, to the real life of people in the country they visit. Because, you know, we talk about money, investments, products, innovation, sustainability, but where are people in all these? So I think we should really go back to what people want from their destinations, how they want it to see developed. So taking the case study of Sardinia, I put actually these two emblematic pictures of opulence and detachment and authenticity and isolation. Why so? Opulence and detachment, we see actually the Emerald Coast, but it could be anywhere in Malta, from Porto Maso to St. Julians to any location. And the authenticity and isolation of those people who do not have a voice, like the shepherds in Gozo or the farmers, who are, for me, the real authenticity of the place, the people that can tell the story of Malta, of Sardinia, of any Mediterranean place. There are many commonalities in between the two. So in the case of Sardinia, I wanted to use this picture of an old man looking at a desolated village because everybody left it, because there are absolutely no opportunities. So from one side, you see the Emerald Coast being built up, these massive investments in hotel, accommodation, whatever, and on the other side, these people that are left with absolutely nothing because there is emigration, territorial impoverishment, social isolation, loss of tangible and intangible cultural heritage. Now, this is not the case of Malta, but we could see actually the loss of tangible and intangible cultural patrimony and the resignation as a sentiment that we all share in Malta. I mean, I'm not Maltese. I've been here for 7.5 years and I feel it as if I was Maltese. This loss of tangible and intangible cultural heritage that is under our eyes. And I think that as tourism scholars and practitioners, we have the duty, the responsibility to bring it back to the people of the place, because these are the authenticity. The authenticity, to me, my personal take on authenticity, is the real life of people. Your life is authentic in your own way. So I think tourism should tell this story. So these are the 3 case studies from Sardinia. Now the first case study is the Sartiglia of Oristano. We are basically using this cultural event to enter the territory. So with the excuse of this event, which is one of the less medieval tournaments in Europe, is very scenic, but also spiritual, it's quite well made. We are using it to get to the soul of the place. So people that would visit Sartiglia, for instance, they wouldn't know what is the life of those very same citizens that are participating to the Sartiglia, who are the organizers, and also these people from the local community that very seldom have a voice. They are not interviewed, they don't tell their story, they just participate to a cultural festival that people enjoy and nothing more. That's that basically. Where's the story? So we want to tell the story of these people. The second case study is the Ardia of Sedilo. It's quite a scenic cultural festival. It's a very wild horse ride. It's run in this village in the center of Sardinia. It's a spiritual festival indeed. The majority of the people that are actually participating are locals, but we do not have any documentaries about them. Tourists are not going there. This is just participated by locals. Nobody knows anything about it, not even in Italy, because the stories of these people are not being told. There is no storytelling behind. There is simply the show. Yes, okay, beautiful, fantastic, but first of all, nobody knows it. And second, nobody knows the territory. This is an agricultural, it's a countryside territory. They're living on agriculture. Where are the stories of the farmers that make this place, or the shepherds, or the artisans? Nobody's telling their story. So without these people, what is the tourism industry? Without, the Godzitans making the cheese, or the Jbena, or, whatever. What is Malta without these people? Just to make the comparison. You can build how many skyscrapers you want, but the soul of the place is there. And we need to keep it in mind as tourism practitioners and scholars. The third event, I have it very much at heart, is called Autunno in Barbagia, Autumn in Barbagia. It's from September to December, and this was one of the ways that local people use to showcase their traditions. So you have the grandmothers opening their doors to you and teaching you how to sew, how to make bread. They open the doors of their houses to let you in and to really discover what is the local identity. We will be using this cultural festival to get to the heart of the place. So again, fishermen, again, shepherds, again, farmers. So we want to build a model where we would organize something and the majority of the profit that we will be making out of it will remain in the place, will go directly to the people that are taking part in all these, because nobody does it at the moment. We have big hotel chains, especially in the area close to Barbagia, the Emerald Coast that I showed you before. We have big hotel chains, big investments, big whatever, that are completely detached from the daily life of Sardinians. Sardinians are not feeling part of those developments that I showed you before. And the question is, as Maltese, do you feel part? Do you feel like you share the way tourism development is going at the moment? Are they representing the real Malta, or are they putting up something for tourists to be consumed? Because this is the question I think we should pose ourselves, and we are not looking at it. It's just numbers, numbers, and numbers, but what about the people that live in that place? Do they have a voice at last? So this is our narration of culture. We will be going to the shepherds. We will be asking them their story, to share the stories, what they do in their daily life, how they learned this job, what is this job giving back to them, how they are contributing to the territory. We are telling a story. And these people would be helping us tell the story of the place, of the destination to the tourists. They will be our voices. We will not be speaking. They will. And I think they have all the right to do it because they are the ones living it. So this is actually, again, 2 pictures to show you how we would like to enter the territory. So starting from the cultural festival that we have selected, we will be developing an experience that is taking both the cultural festival into account, so the participation to it, and also for the people to give them the opportunity to see the backstage of the event, to try the costumes, for instance, to hear the stories of the of the people participating in it, sewing, for instance, or the old sewers. Nobody knows anything about them, the old sewers that produce those costumes. Do you know their stories? So if we don't tell a story in tourism, what are we going to tell? Nothing, I guess. And we will be focusing on the cultural festival to enter what certain tourist theories say the backstage, but I don't like to use the backstage. I would like to say the real stories, the real life of people. This is not the backstage, this is reality. These people are spending hours in the sea, fishing, staying there at the fish farm, spending days and days. Nobody knows their story. So these are, by the way, the Cabras fishermen, which are very close to Oristano. The place of the Sartiglia. So this is our model, very simple, but I have the feeling that sometimes simplicity is not really considered nowadays. We do all these bombastic things, which is all good, but we forget about the simple things: narration of real life stories, connection with local farmers, shepherds, breeders, artisans, storytellers, winemakers. It could be extended to Malta, by all means. Immersive experiences of real life settings. So you go, for example, we have the Gauci shepherd. You go to them, you ask them to tell their story, how Malta used to be, what is the countryside, what are the legends, the rituals of the place. And you give them a voice. These are the real voice, because we can produce as many brochures as we want, as many videos, documentaries about the destinations, but then at the end, speaking with a farmer or a shepherd that has been living there for 70 or 80 years might give you more insights than any brochure. So I think they should be the ones actually having a voice. So this is indeed a Gozitan shepherd. So I would like to, of course, to make the link also with Sardinia. There are many elements to it, but the model is absolutely applicable to Malta. Now, the reflection that we should make here in Malta about the tourism industry is whether it is sustainable for the people. Besides the environment, all the pollution, are we building something that is sustainable for the Maltese, or aren't we? Because if it's not sustainable for the very same people that are representing their culture, then what are we building the tourism industry for? And for whom? I question it. So grazie ħafna. Thank you very much. And happy to network with you all if you want later on. Thank you. Grazie.
The people who do the horse riding on the 15th of August, Santa Maria in Gozo, they're going with totally fearless. They race up the hill, and there are no security measures. Everybody can stand on the road, and the horses come by. What is their story? I never heard any of their stories, even of the shepherd. There are a few shepherds running around illegally, I suppose, near the Dingy Cliffs with their goats. What is their story? What is their past? How do they see the future? I'm wondering how this is. Farmers, the milking by hand. I've heard stories in the past that married a farmer and his wife, when they putting the bales of hay on the cart, they would sing songs to each other. A kind of Anna. Why not teach tourists Anna? How they can insult each other in 5 strophes, and you'll have the chance to insult the other back in 5 strophes. If that's a skill, well, I think that will be a great thing for tourists to learn. Or how to carry a statue in a procession. We never heard the stories of people carrying the statues. We make jokes about them, but we don't go to the inner depth of those people. So I think for marketing, branding purposes, we need to reinvent storytelling and stories. Now we live in the TikTok generation time, so we can make them available on TikTok. I think so, right? So just a few things to make tourism a kind of different approach to tourism. Now, local communities are important in Sardinia, in Malta, and we have a local community expert here, Marianne Gauci of Mellieha, wherever that may be. Please.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. It's so nice to see also some familiar faces from the tourism industry. The purpose of my dissertation is to share valuable insights based on my research and evidence and observations. I will be happy to answer any questions after the presentation. So that's the community of Mellieha. Okay, that's the structure of the presentation. I'll be speaking on 5 thematic areas: community philosophical empowerment, significance of tourism, demographic, volume of people, development pressure, and I'll also be highlighting my vision for Mellieha and the conclusion. So why Mellieha? I have to put my glasses on. Back in the 50s and 60s, Mellieha was a sleepy village. Its economic mainstays were just agriculture and fishing. Hardly anyone visited except those passing by either to cross to Gozo or during summer just to spend a day at Mellieha Bay. After the British military period, tourism became one of the economic pillars. In a short space of time, Mellieha found itself at the forefront of the publicity to attract tourists to the island. Since the early 60s, Mellieha experienced mass tourism and grew into one of the largest tourist destinations on the Maltese islands. Why is it important? As a member of this community, as Dr. Dane said, I'm from Mellieha, and my work experience in the tourism sector, it inspired curiosity to undertake analysis on how tourism is affecting the local community of Mellieha and what impact has it left on our environment. Why is it important to understand the community philosophy on complex topics such as tourism? Well, I believe the community is the prime stakeholder. Tourism is not understood the same by all communities. For example, in places like Safi, Tarshin, and Abba, their understanding of tourism is different because there is very little of it, just a few tourist coaches. There is a clear link between residents' rationality and Weber's theory of substantive and formal rationality. To give an example, formal rationality is value for money. Substantive, is it worth the get up of my bed for tourism? These two concepts are essential to sustain tourist expectations and satisfaction, economic stability, and residents' well-being. As you know, tourism develops businesses, creations of job opportunities, and provides a plethora opportunity of a destination. For the community of Mellieha, tourism is a fundamental pillar underlying the standard of living in Mellieha. In fact, 70% of the business is generated from tourism. Without tourism, Mellieha will not be self-sufficient. Moreover, enhancement of infrastructure, embellishment, projects, preservations of traditional Maltese houses, historic sites, and regeneration of projects, for example, by way of the historic part of Mellieha, Parish Square, and Pope John II Square. These are part of the pull and push factors. Tourism diversity of culture exchanges stimulated social stability in the community. Moreover, tourism embedded women empowerment, and just in the high street of Mellieha, which is the main street, we have 8 women entrepreneurs. Others are pursuing careers in tourism and management and other sectors. This contributes to financial independence and stronger economies. It's nice to see them, no smiling faces, way back in the 70s. I just want to introduce some of them. This one is my cousin, she's in Australia now. That's another friend of mine, but she's living in England. This one sadly passed away not so long ago. They're all from Mellieha, all working in Mellieha Bay, where they used to work in Mellieha Bay. So, although tourism is considered as the vehicle of job creations, jobs in the tourism sector are dying out for Mellieha youths. Because youths are engaging in careers related to academic achievements and working in different sectors. Confirming the general trend, they are less willing to commit to the demands of tourism. They just don't want to work in tourism anymore. This leaves an impact on Mellieha tourism product. One can imagine loss of authenticity and originality because Mellieha character is replaced by a non-Mellieha character, and that makes a difference. As we all know, traditional success of tourism is measured on the volume of visitors and search of tourism facilities. However, there is a clear inverse relationship between seasonality's social carrying capacity, declining tourist experience, and increases in tourist volumes. Both residents and tourists appear to be largely impacted by social and environmental issues, such as in Mellieha George Borch-Oliver Street, from traffic congestion, lack of parking, inadequate public transport management system, noise pollution, construction work, litter, waste collection, and unsafe pavements. My suggestion proposes a one-way direction going down the hill. Reason being, it is less pollution, because we don't want to fill the shops with emissions, and we want to keep the shoppers happy. It is also less noise pollution, and it doubles the parking space. Moreover, Mellieha is experiencing several environmental challenges, which is becoming concern to the community. The high demand of inbound tourism encourages further construction of additional bed stock and surge in tourism facilities, causing environmental and visual pressure. In fact, in the last years, the silhouette of the village has changed dramatically, and it is more looking like a Legoland from mishmash of different building heights and style. Lack uniformity with the aesthetically pleasing traditional Maltese houses. Hotels and blocks of apartments are built on ridges and valleys, which resulted to loss of unique and unreplaceable attributes. Moreover, the excessive tables and chairs placed outside the restaurants and bars form part of the visual pollution. So, what is my vision for Mellieha? When one considers the dependency of the local economy on the tourism sector, it is significant for the tourism industry to strive on strategies that will encourage more opportunities for our local youths to participate in the tourism chain. This will aid to sustain the tourist authenticity experience. Introduction to compulsory online basic Maltese terms lessons for tourism foreign workers pre-migration. This will aid to keep the Maltese language active And more importantly, we protect the quest of our identity. Eco-contribution generated from Mellieha tourism accommodation to be allocated for Mellieha upkeep and embellishment, preservation of existing heritage sites, and renovation of neglected sites. This would be a way of showing gratitude to tourists and can also generate sustainable business prospects that is not based on seasonality. To give an example, heritage tourism. Mellieha to become synonymous with year-round tourism. This can be achieved by widening the segments through innovative forms of new niches such as sports tourism, for example, roller cycling, and faith tourism. 8 possibilities. First, to reduce the impact of seasonality, weaken environmental pressure. Environmental issues and traffic management problems should take precedence over other matters concerned. Government ensures adequate fund allocation for Mellieha Council management to maintain the destination appeal all round year. Mellieha Council to have more power to act to stimulate a locality as Mellieha would be beneficial for the residents and for the destination's sustainability. A development plan system integrated with strategy set on policies and proposals to guide future development and use of land. This will protect the structure hierarchy of Mellieha, minimize conflicts, and make the most efficient trade-off, as well as achieve the objectives of sustainable development for the future generation and the tourism product. Tourism facilities requires the concerned authorities to deploy more tourism policies and regulations to protect both the visual and characteristics of Mellieha, improve the quality of life of residents and the tourist experience. Last but not least, policymakers and those with the power to act to encourage participation of residents in tourism planning and projects, and moreover, importantly, to recognize, evaluate, and manage concerns voiced by the community. In conclusion, to wrap up everything, I came up with this equation. So it's profit over people equals collective stakeholders' participation, which includes the residents' participation in the tourism planning and projects. Residents' participation equals trust and political empowerment, which shields the destination attractiveness and protect residents' quality of life. Sustainable planning and policies equals protecting the destination key assets, such as the environment, economic, social, and cultural heritage. This with reach equals to reach an equilibrium between tourism development and community long-term prosperity, which leads to sustainable tourism success, which is ultimately the main objective behind a government's agenda. Any questions? Thank you so much.
You mentioned questions, yes. I have 2 things on my mind, question time, so you will get questions. But first of all, I would like to invite you to tell us what would you like to have researched? Because you must have a lot of questions in your job. What can we do for you as an institution? What are you interested in things? What would you like to know? What can we figure out for you? So if you have a topic, just don't hesitate to contact us, because it's important that we get feedback from the industry to see what is playing. Otherwise, we will be somewhere over there, and you'll be always over there, and we don't meet. These meetings are designed to come and meet. That's an important thing.